Why are you so close?
I'm always this close. Why are you so far away?
I,
I mean,
I
I'm
was
sure that many of our viewers want to see your very robust physique, but it probably earns us some ratings here.
all of two.
All of two. Well, it's good to see you, Jen.
Hi, mommy.
How are you?
I'm good.
You have tan lines, so I guess the patio is working out for you.
Patio life is working out.
Well, do you know what time it is, Jen?
What time is it?
It's time for the right stuff. And I am coming to you live from South Carolina, beautiful murals inlet. And Jen's coming to you live from her new apartment. How was your week, Jenny?
The same. Every
This
week is the same.
well, I had a
No,
surprise.
but
I had a surprise visit this week from your son.
I know he has money now, and he's flying
We went
around.
fishing. We had a great time. We took a 12-hour fishing trip, and we had a great time. So while you were slaving away, we were out there fishing. Lorraine Polly's with us. Hi, Lorraine. Happy Tuesday to you. So, and what'd you do, Jen? The same?
The same. I did the same. I
The
worked.
same.
Today I went with Dr. Lederman. We went to dinner across the street with Mitchell and one of our reps.
Oh, great.
So I'm not. I'm showered, but I'm not done up because she called me and I ran over there. So
Well, you're a natural beauty, so you don't need
I
to be
know,
done.
obviously.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am so glad that you haven't seen the news because
Zero.
today's show is called Media Mania, and it is about how the American media affects politics across the nation. And the we've been divided into conservatives and liberals, and I truly believe that the media is at the core of it. So tonight, I thought it would be fun for our conservative viewers, because most of the people that watch us are conservative. That's why we're called Right Stuff.
All of
I thought
10
it
of
was,
you.
what's that?
I said all of 10 of you.
All of 10 of you. Oh, listen, tens and tens of viewers come on
Tens of
Rumble.
tens
So,
of tens.
so we're doing great. But I thought it would be fun for our viewers if I played some clips from the liberal media to show you what they're saying to keep Democrats in control of the White House and the Congress and Senate. So we want to start with our own Governor Kathy Hochul, who was on MNN News. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's Minnesota National News. And here's what she had to say about the upcoming elections. Jen, you're not going to believe it. Watch this.
We must stand united, speak as one voice as Democrats to make sure that we wipe out the Republican Party in our own state, and we have that opportunity this November.
Couldn't hear it because my computer's reloading. Couldn't hear it on my phone. What'd she say? Tell me.
She said, we must stand united as Democrats to wipe out the Republican Party in New York State. She didn't mince any words. She's going to wipe out our Republican Party in New York State. So, anybody from New York watching us today, she wants to wipe out our party and continue with a one-party system in New York.
That's wonderful.
Well, so I mean, the Democrats are doing such a good job in New York, right, Jen?
Fabulous. It's an oasis of delight here.
So wiping out the Republican Party makes sense. Margie Master Marino says you have nice tan lines, Jen.
I do, but you're all going to miss me because I'm going to go on that computer now. So hold on.
Okay. Well, and Fran de Gregorio says, what a moron. How embarrassing. I agree, Fran. Jen's coming right back. She's switching her computer. Here she is. There she is. Okay, see, now you're close, Jen. So, Jen, I'm getting feedback, so I don't know why that is. But anyway, you don't have to read between the lines to understand Hochul's message. But it seems that CBS News picked right up on that. And they decided at the last minute, after laying down rules for the Republican debate, they decided to actually axe Andrew Giuliani, who's one of the Republican contenders, from the Republican debate last night. I'm going to play you.
He wasn't on.
It was on.
He wasn't on. Andrew wasn't on.
No, he wasn't on. He was on. He was on virtually. Tammy Morton, it's good to see you again, Tammy. And she says, happy Tuesday. And Margie said that has been their mission since Lincoln. You know it. And I'm reading a great book, as a matter of fact, about the press in the Civil War. Is called Blue and Gray in Black and White. It actually takes news clips from the Civil War, and it regurgitates them in this book. It's about a 10-year-old book, and I recommend everybody read it. It's amazing that even then, the editorialization of the news media, it shaped the way the country went. Okay, so let's hear from Andrew Giuliani.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the situation specifically with the upcoming debate tomorrow on CBS. As we were going through the process on this, up until really the middle of last week, a couple of days ago, I was told that the only thing that I would need to do on the day of the test, or the day of the debate, was to take a test. I agreed to that. I thought that was fair. And to be honest, as we got to about 72 hours before the debate, I was told all of a sudden that I would have to upload my vaccination status. Look, I'll be very clear. I told them that I would not do that. First and foremost, I don't think that's something that even somebody who has chosen to get this shot should have to do from a constitutional standpoint. But I chose very clearly that I was not going to get this shot for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, I've looked at the data on this. I've listened to the CDC director, who has told us on June 10th of 2010 on CBS, nonetheless, that this vaccine does not actually stop transmission of this, which is wild to think that we are now looking at the solutions of the current issue at stake, and we're saying that for somebody who has natural immunity, as I do, for somebody who has agreed to take multiple tests now, it was one of the negotiation points, I've agreed to take multiple tests on the day of the debate, that they have still said that I need to be excluded from the room.
Well, first off, he said 2010. Was he correct, or did he mean 2020?
He might have meant 2020. He might have misspoke.
Okay. But they're pushing him out because of Giuliani, because his father.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my favorite is Lee Zeldin. I will admit that, but.
Well, the best way to wipe out the Republican Party in New York State is to not show how many different candidates there are in the race. Listen, we have great candidates in this race. We have Harry Wilson. We have Andrew Giuliani. We have my friend, Rob Astorino, and he is a great friend. And we have Lee Zeldin, who's running with our friend, Allison Esposito. And here's a fun fact. In New York, you could vote for one person for governor and another person for lieutenant governor. So one thing is for certain, I'm voting for Allison Esposito, no matter who I vote for at the top of the ticket. But there you go. I mean, we know that the vaccine does not stop you from getting COVID. He was willing to be tested before he got into the room. The other candidates had no problem with him being there, but CBS decided, no, you have to show your vaccination card.
Yes.
So I got to tell you, he earned points from me for saying absolutely not, no way, I'm not doing it. And you do not have the right to see my medical records. They're my records. And you are a news media what the hell do you care about my vaccination status? Test me to keep all the candidates safe. There was no
Entertainers
one.
don't have to be vaccinated.
What's that?
I said entertainers and sports figures. They don't have to be.
That's right. But apparently political candidates, if you're of the Republican persuasion, do have to be vaccinated in order to be in a debate. So they're inching closer to getting rid of the Republican Party in New York State.
Next,
Kathy
the Republican
Hochul,
Party wants to get, what is it, monkeypox?
monkeypox. Yeah. Well, so here's another issue in the news. Assault weapons, right? And gun violence. And so MSNBC Mehdi Hassan spoke with Congressman Ro Connor of California about why Democrats aren't banning assault weapons after the Robbie Elementary School shootings. Not surprising, even though he's saying, hey, Democrats are in control of the House and the Senate. So why aren't you guys taking care of this assault weapon stuff? Not surprising, they managed to blame Republicans for not getting it through. Okay, so watch this clip. This is hysterical. Oh, wait, let me see. We have a comment first. Let's see who's comment. Oh, Martin Lee is with us. Hey, Martin. Wipe out Republicans. That's the core thought of the political contention and animus in my birth city. You cannot have a meeting of the minds when you think and espouse ignorance like that. Thank you, Martin. I agree with you. But that was our governor, Kathy Hochul, that wants to do that. All right, so let's hear from Hassan and Rep. Connor.
Right now, your party controls both chambers and the White House. Are Democratic Party leaders doing enough on gun control?
No, we have passed enough in the House. I mean, we have passed the universal background check. We have passed the assault weapons ban, but there needs to be action in the Senate. And I think there ought to be votes every single day on these common sense measures. I mean, one of the common sense measures is if you can't get alcohol under 21, how are you getting assault weapons banned? I'm for banning of full assault weapons, but at least we can agree that you shouldn't be able to get them if you're 18, 19, 20.
I've heard people like Chris Murphy, Dick Durbin, Chuck Schumer talk about, requesting their Republican colleagues, begging even their Republican colleagues to get on board. Number one, those Republican colleagues are not getting on board. And number two, you don't need them to get on board. You have the vote if it wasn't for the damn filibuster.
Well, and the Republican senators' comments yesterday, I mean, it's almost like you could play it on tape from the past comments. They say the same exact thing. They didn't even wait a few hours, and they're saying, well, it's not guns, it's mental health illness, it's security, school security. So nothing's going to change.
Congressman, I want to play some sound of Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz this week speaking with Sky News, the UK news organization.
Is this the moment to reform gun laws?
It's easy to go to politics.
But it's important. It's at the heart of the issue.
I get that that's where the media likes to go.
No, it's not. It's where many of the people we've talked to here like to go.
The proposals from Democrats in the media, inevitably, when some violent psychopath murders people.
A violent psychopath who's able to get a weapon so easily. 18-year-old with 2 AR-15s.
If you want to stop violent crime, the proposals the Democrats have, none of them would have stopped this.
But why does this only happen in your country? I really think that's what many people around the world they cannot fathom. Why only in America? Why is this American exceptionalism so awful?
I'm sorry you think American exceptionalism is awful.
I think this aspect of it.
You get your political agenda.
No, it's honestly,
God love you.
Senator, it's not. I just want to understand why you do not think that guns are the problem.
Congressman, putting aside Ted Cruz's inability to answer simple questions without running away effectively, just deal with the substance of it, if you can call it substance. Republicans often say that the proposals your party offers would not have supported this or that shooting. Sometimes they're right. I hate to be fair to them, but sometimes...
I'm going to say it again. You outlaw guns. The only people that are going to have guns are outlaws. That's it. You need to make a plan to punish people that have guns illegally. If somebody gets caught with a gun, whether you're jumping a turnstile, you're not holding up a bank, but you have that gun on you and it's illegal, you go to jail for a year. It's mandatory. That is how you end gun violence. These people aren't going to get a gun permit. Maybe those kids that shoot up the schools, yes, but when you add up all of the other violent gun shooting crimes, the murders in New York, they surpass all of those deaths.
Well, they don't want to talk about that, though, Jen. They just want to talk about assault weapons. They want to talk about, these crazy killers that shoot up multiple, murder.
And a lot of those people took them from their parents. They didn't have licenses. They did not. They took them from the homes, locked up, got the keys, and did it. This is mental health awareness that we need to focus on. The parents need to, everyone needs to take control. It's not, you can't control these people. They're going to get that gun no matter what.
Well, so the Republican line is that we need more mental health awareness, and we need to put people in jail who commit violent crimes. And the Democrats' answer is that we have to ban guns. Yeah. And isn't it interesting? I think it's interesting, and we have to give a ban
drugs. Then ban drugs. What drugs do to people?
We have to give a BS to Sky News, who was badgering Ted Cruz. But isn't it interesting that that Hassan at the end says, to be fair, not that I want to be fair to Republicans. I mean, you're a news anchor. What do you mean, not that you want to be fair to Republicans? The whole idea is if you're reporting the news, you're supposed to do it fair and without bias on either side. Tammy Morton says mental health is the problem. I agree with you. George Passarello, my partner, says ban cars. They kill people. I'm with you, George.
Pot. It's a gateway, so they say, but they're not doing any of this. They are not focusing on the problem. They're not getting their guns legally. Listen, those mass shootings are the ones that they glorify. Rightfully so. They're glorifying them and forgetting about every single day in the cities like Detroit, New York City, San Francisco. This is happening constantly. So you add up those people that are killed and it surpasses the people that are killed in these mass shootings. So what's happening? Where are those guns coming from? They're ghost guns. They're ghost guns. But our mayor is putting our gun task force on the line in full uniform and showing everyone who they are on the news.
George says, don't ban pot. We got you, George. No problem, buddy. So, but what I guess I'm trying to get at here is how the news media sensationalizes the Democratic agenda. The Democratic agenda is to get our guns away from American citizens.
I know.
It's in their agenda. So they're not going to talk about what you are talking about, common sense politics, Jennifer. They're not going to talk about keeping people in jail. They're going to scare the hell out of everybody to say, oh, it could be your kid next. Ban all the AR-15s. And as a matter of fact, as part of that it was a very long interview that Hassan had with Kana. And he puts up a graph about when the assault weapons ban, before the assault weapons ban, there were mass shootings. Then during the assault weapons ban, there was only one mass shooting. And then afterwards, there was 22. After it expired, there was 22. But the funny thing is that not all of the guns that were used in the 22 were assault weapons. I looked them up.
Well, what I'm saying is measure out the people that are killed on a daily basis by street guns.
Yeah, you're right.
It is way more than the people that are killed in these mass shootings.
You're right, but the Democrat that goes against the Democrat agenda. You can't do that. They have to have a way to frighten Republicans over.
Because most of those kids came from Republican families. I will say that.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but
most of
maybe you have. I haven't. George says an AR-15 is the same as a hunting rifle.
Listen, listen, you don't need it. You don't need it.
They need to ban the shooting video games.
That's not. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Although the kid, if you've seen that video, the young gentleman that shot up the supermarket with all of the African American people
in Buffalo.
Yeah, it was like a video game. Did you see that?
Well, but that's the thing. We're desensitizing our youth to actual what human life is and what the value of human life is. And when you desensitize our youth to that, it's not ridiculous or far-fetched to think that they're in a developing brain thinking that it's no big deal. Listen, if you ask me, what we need to do is mandate that if you have a baby, you have to be able to parent it. And you just don't hand it over to the education system and think your job is done. You have to talk to your kids about all of this stuff, even the uncomfortable stuff. Okay, so that's gun violence. Now this is the economy. So CNN John King of Inside Politics reminds his guest, Matt Egan, that the people in Washington only worry about the economy as it relates to the November 2022 elections. This one had me rolling in my seat. Let's see. Well, watch. Wait, not yet.
Well, John, this is one of the more confusing GDP reports that I've ever seen. The headline, no doubt, is ugly here. Worst quarter for the economy in nearly 2 years. First contraction in the GDP since that epic collapse in the spring of 2020. But when you actually go under the hood, you can see that there's some temporary factors here that mask underlying strength in the economy. Let me show you what I mean. First, Omicron disrupted businesses and COVID relief to households and businesses lapsed. Secondly, supply disruptions and really strong demand caused imports to spike. And trade really accounts for all of this decline in GDP. But there's some bright spots too. Positive consumer spending actually accelerated. Businesses were investing in factory and equipment at a very strong pace. And I think all of this explains why we shouldn't panic about this report. It does not seem to suggest a recession is imminent or anything like that. Moody's economist Mark Zaney, he told me that the economy is still growing at a pace that is going to bring unemployment down. Remember, we're looking at just 3.6% unemployment. That is down dramatically from nearly 15%. 2 years ago. So today's GDP report looks like a head fake. The economy is expected to return to growth. But John, the big question is, what does the economy look like a year from now? Because that's when high inflation and the Fed's rate hikes could raise the risk of a recession.
You focus on a year from now. Trust me, Matt, a lot of people in this town are focusing on a few months from now, November as well. But
Stop!
But again, it's the explanation. Don't panic.
Everyone's a man. No one can. You can't get shit. That's why everyone's asking for it.
It's COVID. It's the Putin war. It's everything else. All right. Martin Lee is back. He's talking about Ted Cruz. Ted should have answered him, not run off. I concur with Jen. It's more to it than guns. To ban guns is to create a fortified black market that will embolden and arm mostly the criminal underworld. Guns are needed to avert carjackings, armed robberies, and home invasion protection. George says
our cops can't even have guns.
Well, that's next. Is that they're going to do what they do in England? Cops are going to be banned from carrying.
Like this. Can you stop it? Mm-hmm. Please stop. Please stop.
Sorry, I can't stop.
Yes, this is the next weapon of the NYPD. Can you?
Yeah, right. Please be good. Behave. Please obey the laws. Speaking on that last clip, George says temporary factors. I agree. George Biden is a temporary factor. And Nancy Marie says it's all bullshit. For that, I give you this, Nancy.
The bullshit meter has detected major BS. Confirmed. That's definitely some bullshit.
You are absolutely right. It is. She loves it. Okay, so but let's remember something, people. What I'm trying to show you here is that there's an agenda. There's a messaging agenda out there, and the news media is carrying that messaging agenda. And listen, I'm not saying that the Republicans don't have one too, but unfortunately, far more of the media has a liberal bent to it than a Republican bent or a conservative bent to it. So remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about how the media is carrying the water to ensure that Democrats are reelected. And the exchange that Jen and I just had, where she was talking about the problem with guns, that's exactly what they're hoping for. They're hoping for people to, say, yes, ban the guns or don't ban the guns. Divide us. When they can divide us, they can conquer us. We say it every week on this show. They want us divided, the working people, the families from the elite. And that's what we need to be careful of. Go ahead, Jen.
No, I have nothing. I'm good.
Okay. Well, so we heard about the economy. Now this one, I love this. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough unabashedly pulls economist Steve Ratner back to the party line when Ratner says that the reason for high oil prices isn't Putin's war or COVID. This is amazing. Watch this.
You look at the red line of gas prices, that well before the war started, gas prices had begun climbing very, very substantially and had exceeded the sort of $2.75 or so level that had persisted before the pandemic. The real source of the gas price inflation is coming from crude oil. As I said, President Biden would like to blame Russia for all this, but it is not all Russia. It is not all the pandemic. It is the fact that we are fundamentally short of oil around the world.
Right, but Steve, explain why we're fundamentally short of oil around the world, because Republicans and editorial pages of conservative newspapers would like to blame Joe Biden, but it's actually because of what they love, markets. The fact is, oil companies didn't want to spend a lot of money exploring during COVID when demand was lower, when prices were lower. It made absolutely no sense. And investors didn't want to pour money into more exploration or more production at that time, right?
That is actually exactly right.
So let's get this straight. You invite an economist on your show, and the economist says, Joe Biden is lying. It's not Putin's war. It's not COVID. It's that we don't have enough oil in the world, which would lean into what the conservatives have been saying was, let's drill right here in America. Let's not depend on foreign governments for our oil. And oh no, not that. They had to pull him back in and blame it on the Republicans. Fair and open media, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
What do you say, Jen?
I say, no, obviously, look, the left makes money off of foreign trade. Obviously, the right does too. But we don't put it down people's throats. We make the economy better when we do it.
Well, listen, there's plenty of the right. McConnell's making money. There's plenty of Republicans.
I just said that. I said, but we make it right for the economy. Yeah. We make everyone comfortable when we do it. Everything's corrupt. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's corrupt. We're all in bed, but they do it where they benefit but blame, and they turn everyone against each other. It's just sick. It's absolutely sick.
Again,
about China with the Tesla, with the gas. I want electric cars, and China is monopolizing. They've been monopolizing off of the battery for electric cars. Those are mined sources.
And we're not going to let anybody mine anything here. That's for sure, because that would be
closed.
That would be a total different problem. George says, wow, what a spin. Give that man his spin doctorate. Agreed, George. This is such, the more clips, I wish I had 3 hours, but I'd bore you guys to death. But I wanted to pull all these clips together so that you could see what's going on. So the next time, Nancy said, who can vote Democrat after all this shit? Nancy, the people who are watching MSNBC and CBS and NBC and CNN, this is what they're being fed, the spin. And the harder it is to spin, the more the commentators and the newscasters are looking disapprovingly at their guests that they book and disagreeing or leading them down the path so that they could get back on message. And that's what this is all about. And that's why we're doing this show today called Media Mania. Watch what you watch, but watch both sides, because somewhere in between Fox and CNN is the truth. And the truth is that it's them against us. It is not Dems against Republicans or liberals against conservatives. It's the elite of Washington against the people, the working people. And in a little while, I'm going to show you Joe Biden and his spin in front of the AFL-CIO. But
the National Enquirer of that's what they are. Yeah, the National Enquirer.
All of them. So Joe Biden tried to wait. We don't pollute. We outsource our pollution. That's George. That's right. We don't. The whole idea is, if you believe that there's only so much. The world needs so much oil. What's the difference if we drill the oil or if Russia drills the oil? If the consumption is the consumption, what does it matter where it's drilled? It's drilled. But for us in America, if it's drilled here, it keeps us self-sufficient and reduces our reliance on foreign governments. Because look at what's happened. Putin's oil, which is dirty oil, much dirtier than anything that we were doing in America. Putin's oil, was able to be shut off. And look at what's going on now. Everybody's fearful, and we could fix this by just going back to where we were the other thing that I found was funny was Scarborough says, the fuel energy, they didn't want to invest any more money in exploring during COVID. Well, I'm sorry that when you're in a business and nobody's using your oil, why would you spend more money investing in exploring? Especially when Biden sent the clear message that he did not want drilling in America when he closed that pipeline. So, all right, well, here's Joe Biden, and he's trying to blame now the shipping companies for why we don't have product. Watch this.
I have to admit to you, a lot of us elected officials have been in office for a while. Every once in a while, something you learn makes you viscerally angry. Like if you had the person in front of you, you'd want to pop them. No, I really mean it. There are nine major ocean line shipping companies that ship from Asia to the United States. 9. They form 3 consortia. These companies have raised their prices by as much as 1,000%. So everything coming from Asia, they get 90-some% of it, the stuff coming from Asia. They've raised it by 1,000%.
So that's from our friends at Newsweek.
He's going to run again. They announced today. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? He's running again? Like, Are you serious?
He will. I don't know. Didn't that sound a little violent? You just want to pop them. When you think about Joe Biden, one day we'll do a show and I'll give you all the clips of Joe Biden threatening bodily harm to somebody. I thought that, the Democrats were kumbaya and no physical, anger and all that other stuff. But as if Joe Biden could pop anybody. I could just see him drawing back for the punch.
I want all the Werther's originals out of his pocket. He's like my grandpa.
And George says the only thing this guy is popping is an artery. That's right. We We have to do a show one day with you, me, and George, Jen.
Yes.
Everybody will be laughing forever.
Don't mind me. I'm texting because my medical rep is trying to try on a Fendi dress. She's like, "Can I get into your gate?" Like, I'm on a podcast.
Okay, so you're multitasking. So Jennifer, small businesswoman, is
She's like, "I'm by the pool. Go to the front. Leave me alone."
Well, clearly you're not a Washington elite because they can't even do one job, let alone two. Okay, so CNN is helping the Biden administration lay up its next spin for rising food prices by blaming Russia's invasion of Ukraine for creating grain shortages. Watch this one.
Grain held hostage because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is deepening the global food crisis.
When a nation that is the breadbasket of the world becomes a nation with the longest bread lines of the world, we know we have a problem.
Before the Ukraine war began, the country was the world's 4th largest exporter of corn and the 5th largest exporter of wheat. Now those agricultural products cannot get out of Ukraine's ports because of Russia's blockade, leaving dozens of countries desperate. David Beasley, the executive director of the World Food Program, said there are currently at least 323 million people around the world heading towards starvation.
Truly, failure to open those ports in Odessa region will be a declaration of war on global food security, and it will result in famine and destabilization and mass migration around the world.
The Biden administration is ramping up its focus on this deadly crisis as global food prices are spiking.
Wait, they're ramping up because of that, but not the gas. They're more. I can live without wheat. Whatever. I'm good. I am good.
George, wait, don't we pay our farmers not to grow? What a crook. Absolutely. Brenda Black is with us. Off topic, but you ladies look particularly pretty today. Both your hairstyles are very flattering to you. Thank you, Brenda. Jennifer was very, very concerned about her hair.
This is all Dr. Lederman's fault.
George, wow, what a shock. Democrats want to go to war. So that's the whole thing. We're spending billions of dollars, right? Sending over billions of dollars to Putin, but we're not sending what he needed. And when he said, "Let us into to NATO and defend us," in the beginning, Biden went, "Oh, no, we're not going to go to war." So billions of dollars later, now he's got a great spin for his problem with the economy and recession and food prices by saying, "Oh, well, it's Russia's fault because they're stealing the grain from Ukraine." I could have told you that at the beginning of the freaking war. That was the whole idea. Why didn't NATO right then let them in and defend Ukraine from the get-go? No, it took billions of American tax dollars that none of us can afford. And that's now his new party line. We're going to have a food, the food prices are up because of Putin. And Passarello says NATO is useless. Well, George, you know what? I heard that before, and I thought to myself, this was the opportunity for NATO to actually show that it was worth being a part of their organization. But they blew it big time because they should have stepped up, put their guns on the line, brought the troops in, and said to Putin, "No effing way. Get out or we're coming after you." If Trump was in office, that's what it would have happened.
But Trump was in bed with Putin, so.
Yeah, right. No, well.
Jody Wasserman!
Jody Wasserman is there. We'll have Jody Wasserman and George on.
We have made it big time. George and Jody Wasserman are
That's
watching.
it. We've got two heavy hitters on with us tonight. Not to say that our regular tens and tens of people are not heavy hitters, but Jody is a comedian, funny as hell, and we're happy to have her with us tonight. Thanks, Jody, for your weigh in. Okay, so I told you I would bring you. If our viewership doesn't plummet after this clip.
Oh, well, it is.
I don't know.
We already know it's going to.
It's Biden at the AFL-CIO trying to deliver a speech of a lifetime to get the unions to vote Democrat in November. Here's our president. Wait a minute, hold up before I do it. Let's see what other comments we have. Oh no. Jody Wasserman, fuck Putin. George, wow, I made a bill with a headliner. Okay. All right, here's our president, the man who got more votes than any other presidential candidate in the history of America, addressing the AFL-CIO.
Do you remember when our economy was like what it looked like before we took office? 3,000 Americans are dying every day from COVID. 20 million Americans had lost their jobs in the last guy. In fact, so many Americans lost their jobs that my predecessor became just the second president in history to leave office with fewer jobs in America than when he took office. But you stepped up. The other one, by the way, was Herbert Hoover. And just remember those long lines of cars stretching miles back waiting for just a box of food to be put back in their trunk? It wasn't just poor folk. It was working class folks, middle class folks. A lot of pretty nice cars in those lines. And while it was going on, America created more billionaires during that crisis in 2020 than any year in history. Talk about a contrast. Ordinary people waiting in line for an hour for a box of food. And the policies in the past created more billionaires than ever in American history. Often we've had an economy where the wealthy do better and better while the middle class gets left behind. So we went to work to change that and started with the American Rescue Plan. The law helped 41 million people put food on their table. Remember, they were in trouble putting food on their table. Put money in the pockets of hardworking Americans who were in trouble, being thrown out in the street because they couldn't pay the rent. When I think global warming, I think jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Good paying union jobs. Since I took office with your help, families are carrying less debt nationwide. They have more savings nationwide. I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives. I grew up in a household not far from here, Claymont and Wilmington, where the price of a gallon of gasoline went up was a conversation at the dinner table. It mattered. It mattered to my working family. It mattered if the price of food went up. The problem is, Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop my plans to bring down costs on ordinary families. All I'm asking is for the largest corporations and the wealthiest Americans to begin to pay their fair share in taxes.
I've turned into a plant. I am no longer listening to this bullshit. It is over.
Jody Wasserman. Oh, by the way, Jody Wasserman has COVID for the first time. Jody, get well quick. I had it.
Jody, it's all the Democrats' fault.
No, it's Trump's fault because Joe Biden said he cured COVID. Let's see. Margie says, good thing that's not happening now. They would not be able to afford the gas to be in those lines. Yeah, but Margie, he was talking about, I don't know if he was talking about during
it wasn't a fault. It was a fault. It wasn't like
or during Trump.
I have dementia right now, so everyone just calm down.
I'm trying to figure it out. Those long lines where people were waiting for a box of food to be put in their car, but more billionaires were created from that crisis. Huh?
But didn't he say he was protecting the middle class? And didn't he say that in the beginning? Or was I hearing things?
Yeah, but listen, there was a lot to unpack with those clips. That is bullshit. Less debt, more jobs. That's right, Jody. George sums it up. Waba, Compop, Wazoo. I feel like every time he talks, we should have like the Batman show. Remember, pow, gang, yes, wow. That's crazy. Nice Nice cars. That's right. Nice cars. There were some pretty nice cars in that line. What the F is he talking about? His plan is happening now. It's unfolding right now. His plan, as he said before, we're going through a transition, and when we come out the other side, we'll be greener. But I don't know if he just forgets that he's being recorded or what. But I loved when he said, "When I think of global warming, I think of jobs. Good paying
polar bears." I do. Polar bears. That's all I think about. Polar bears. That's what gets me for my money during global warming.
He's running for re-election. And people with less debt, and the Republicans standing in the way of his plan.
Debt. I can't fill up my car.
People are going into debt just so that they can drive to work. Oh my God.
Can't work from home, but you have to go to work. But gas costs you $90 to fill up. Food.
But it's that. But his plan. He's got a plan. He's got a plan. But the Republicans are standing.
You know what his
in the
plan
way.
is? Push that button, Leticia.
It's crazy. All right. Well, that was PBS NewsHour brought us that tidbit. It was a 40-minute speech. I lost brain cells just listening to it so I could get you those little juicy tidbits. There was so much more, and you should all watch it. You can find it on YouTube. As a matter of fact, that's where I found it. Greener, it is so bad now that there's so many jobs out there. It is such bullshit. George, how does he get people to defend this guy? I think of 50K electric cars with batteries that will rot the planet. Electric comes from carbon fuel, but that's just me. You're right. And we've talked about that on the show before. Jennifer said it last week.
It's not for a green environment, I'll tell you that.
That's right. And we have to get the parts from where, Jen?
China.
China. So Manchin last week, George, we had a clip of Manchin questioning Buttigieg, and Manchin said, "Why are we pushing electric cars when we can't even manufacture them? All the parts are made in China, and if we convert everybody to electric, and then China decides they're not going to ship us parts, we're all screwed." So good, keep talking.
Just like we are now. It doesn't really matter. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, CNN had the actual guts to do a comparison of Trump versus Biden and the approval ratings. Happy birthday today, Donald Trump. We miss you. That's from Angela. Ricka, throwing out old cars cause more pollution than you save. That's true. You made it already. If you want to recycle, what are you going to do? You're going to just get rid of the cars, right? So everybody chucks their old car that's it's fossil fuel, and then what? Please, it's ridiculous. Well, anyway, CNN had the guts to compare Biden's poll numbers to Trump's during the same period, and the numbers weren't good. During the segment, the pollster admits that CNN hammered Trump's low poll numbers and cheered when polling for Democrats in 2018 was high. This is an interesting clip. Watch this.
Let's talk about history here. How does President Biden, compare to former President Trump in this stage of the presidency?
There was always that thing, Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating at this point in his presidency. We did it over and over and over and over again. Well, at this point in his presidency, Donald Trump's numbers, actually his average approval rating is 1 point higher than Joe Biden's, which is at 41%, Donald Trump at 42%. A first-term president at this point in his presidency, this is the lowest. This is the lowest for anyone who was elected to the presidency and didn't get up there through the vice presidency. This is a really, really, really bad number.
And in terms of the effect it's having on the Democratic Party, and I think this is a great thing to look at, you look at special elections. And it's not always about who wins or loses special elections. It's about the margins.
It's about the margins. This was a jungle primary, so all the Republicans, all the Democrats ran against each other in one round. And what did we see? We saw the total GOP vote. Look at that, 66%, a 32-point margin. Compare that to the 2020 presidential baseline. The Republicans outperformed this by 14 points. The margin then was only about 5 or 6. In terms of the margin, it was a 27-point overperformance. This was the type of thing when we went back in 2018, we're like, oh my God, look at all these great Democratic overperformances. This was a huge Republican overperformance.
No, the news was great. It was good news. It said that Trump's approval rating was higher than Biden.
No, it was too close. That was fake.
Oh, well, listen, but the thing is that the Democrats were hammering Trump for having a low approval rating at the same point in his presidency.
I understand what they were saying, but it was fake. That's totally not the. You know what? It might have been actually, but I would like to revisit what this is like right now, this minute.
Well, he showed you what he was saying there was that in the last primary elections or the elections that were coming up in California, the Republicans came out at an enormous number, a 32% difference of Republicans turning out to Democrats turning out, which forecast for November that Republicans will outnumber Democrats in the election coming out to
I totally stopped listening when I saw that number.
Yeah.
You know me, I have ADD. I'm like, I just saw that and I just was like, what?
Well, you know what? But CNN had the guts to put it up because they had nothing else they could do.
I want to meet whoever says I'm voting for Biden again. I want to punch them in the crotch. Like, that's it.
Oh, you're doing a Biden now. You're getting physical.
Violent. No, I am. I'm violent.
Well, listen, even AOC is thinking that she needs to back away from Biden. But this clip is fantastic. I want everybody to pay attention. This is CNN Dana Bash. She asked AOC if she would endorse Biden for a second term. Watch her face when AOC doesn't toe the Democrat line and waffles on her answer. I want you to watch Dana Bash's face through this. It's a short clip. It's only 38 seconds. Watch this closely.
Listen to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. CNN's Dana Bash asked her today if she would endorse Biden in 2024.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I think if the president has a vision, then that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
That's not a yes.
Yeah, I think we should endorse when we get to it. But I believe that the president has been doing a very good job so far, and should he run again, I think that I think it's we'll take a look at it.
If she runs for president, I'm going to kill myself and everyone else too. Just so you know.
But Dana Bash! Oh my God! Wait, that's not a yes. Wait, what? Let me look at my script.
Wait, hold on. This is not our agenda. You were supposed to say yes, I am. Yes, I am.
You're supposed. Yeah.
Even AOC knows he sucks.
When AOC starts waffling on the Democrat agenda, you know that they are in trouble.
Yeah.
So for anybody out there that was, on pins and needles about what's happening, in November, even the Democrats realize that they have very little hope. George
had home and move on.
George had a run. It was great having him here. Jody Wasserman says, we look great. Thanks, Jody. It's good lighting, but Jennifer's a natural beauty. Yeah. Here's somebody. I mean, talk about the heavy hitters. Bob Remauro, gas and food prices don't matter to the dead people that voted for Biden. Then AOC had the Kamala giggle at the end. That's right. And here's Jody. She thought the same thing. Where's Kamala? That's absolutely right. That giggle at the end was amazing. She when in doubt, when you don't know what to say, laugh.
You giggle.
All right.
In this country.
So we got 7 minutes left. So when the Democrats realize they're in trouble, there's only one thing to do. Well, a couple of things to do. They either blame it on Trump or they bring up the January 6th, what they call insurrection. This clip This is Senator Chris Coons, and he's urging all Americans to watch the hearings, the January 6th hearings. Watch the exchange between Coons and the CNN. This was I forget her name. This Scarborough's Gina, I think, is her name. Watch this. Here it comes.
Senator, if you will, tell us your takeaways from yesterday's January 6th hearing.
Joe, these January 6th hearings are remarkable. They are riveting. They are delivering new evidence. The testimony day after day is building a case that President Trump knew he had lost the election, that he was fraudulently reaching out to his donors and getting them to send in millions of dollars, that he refused evidence that he had lost from his close supporters, and that he went ahead anyway with a core team led by Rudy Giuliani with planning the January 6th riot.
Yeah, you've said quite a number of times that you really want Americans to zoom in on what's happening during these hearings. Could you explain why shining a light on what happened on January 6th is important in stemming political violence, or could it do rather the opposite?
Well, Mika, you had Raphael Warnock, Reverend and Senator Raphael Warnock, on just a few minutes ago, and I thought he gave a compelling insight about this. A core question is, are we a January 6th nation riven by partisanship and inclined towards politically motivated violence, or a January 5th nation, the day on which both he and Jon Ossoff were elected in Georgia? Significant change, progress, certainly from my perspective, in that Georgia elected its first ever black senator and Jewish senator, and added to, of course, the change in the Senate by giving us the majority.
I'm done. I'm over it. When are they going to focus on the cities that were burned down around that? When people were coming and stealing from banks and burning down cities. Really? We're paying for this shit. Just so you know, we're paying for this.
Well, absolutely, we're paying for it. Not only are we paying for it, but we're also giving money to the cities that were burnt down by Black Lives Matter and by those riots. We're giving money.
We're going to our house. We're going to our house, right?
What's that?
Black Lives Matter. We're going to our house, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's now the people's house, right? Yeah. So everybody can go there. They're not going to talk about that, Jen, because that is not what the narrative is. The narrative is to say, and they added something new now to it. They added that Trump built his donors out of millions of dollars by saying that the election was rigged. So they're heaping on because they know that they don't have a snowball's chance in hell.
We didn't have all of those rallies and all of those people being patriots before that.
Right. So they know that they're going to lose in November. So this is their last gasp. And so what are they doing? Every news station is covering now the January 6th hearings. Okay.
And I know I was on HBO.
Every news station is covering those hearings. And and the Democrats want people to watch. As Margie said rightly, have you been watching that produced miniseries? It is a miniseries. It's a spin to try to get Republicans not to turn out and Democrats not to vote Republican, and to remind people that the Republicans are no good. They're trying to skewer Trump again. And in my opinion, this is what's wrong with the elite in Washington. They don't understand the American people. The American people care about whether or not their government is serving them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you don't have to become a Democrat. Be an independent. If that's what you want to do, be an independent at least. You don't have to choose a side.
So let's get to it. So we know that gas and food and
The whole world is corrupt. It's
prices for
crippling.
everything is rising,
Well,
and this is bad for Democrats in the midterm elections.
course.
So the news media gets together and they create the Democratic spin to feed to the American public that, oh, you got to keep on voting Democrat. They're doing so much for you. You're not a Republican. Republican are only for the rich. They're tar and feathering corporations. They're tar and feathering businesses. They're tar and feathering anybody that has achieved any success in America. And they're saying to the American public, and listen, Biden said it in those clips I showed you, that we just want the corporations and the rich to pay their fair share. Listen, I don't know anybody in America or anywhere for that matter who doesn't want to be rich. That's what they dream of.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you? I would rather pay through the ass in taxes and be rich than to live the life that they're trying to lay out for everyone else. Why are you?
Okay.
No, why? Why do you want to live this life? People don't want to. They don't want to, and that's what's going to happen. The red wave is going to come, and watch what happens.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're actually trying to kill the American dream. But by what did we have? Over 2 million people coming through our borders.
That's the American dream right now. That's it.
Those are people.
On welfare, get Medicaid, don't work.
That's right. Because if the government can keep everybody dependent on it, then it can exist forever. And it can be in control of every aspect of our lives. So if you
what
take
is that called?
It's called socialism, communism.
Oh.
So, if it was working, why don't people stay in the countries? Why are they escaping? Why are there refugees? So listen, I hope that today we put a little bit of focus on what the media is doing to turn us against each other and to screw you, us, the American voter, the middle class Americans. Washington is part of it, and don't get sucked into that Republican Democrat stuff, because it's not Republican Democrat. It's the insiders, it's the elite against the working people. Yeah. Don't buy the.
That's 3 gallons of bullshit in a 2-gallon bucket.
So I hope everybody enjoyed seeing what the other side is saying, and now you understand why people are thinking that they're going to vote Democrat again. And I hope that you don't fall victim to it. Jen, any last words?
Zero. I'm good. I'm done. I already said I'm moving in 8 years. I'm done with this. I'm done.
Well, unfortunately, this president and this Congress and this Senate control the whole nation. So even though there are some red states, they're going to try and get rid of those too. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We went over by 2 minutes. Jen, love you. I'll see you next Tuesday, 7:00. Give us a rumble. Watch the rebroadcast on Rumble. Give us a rumble and subscribe to our channel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.